This is Histories and Mysteries Uncovered. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jessica. And on this week's episode, Ashley will be talking about the Tulsa Race Massacre.
Yes.
And I will be, t- um, I will be telling you a couple of UFO stories.
Ooh, very time appropriate.
I thought so. I didn't even read what got released. I just saw that people weren't giving a shit anymore because we already knew it.
Everybody's like, yeah, okay. Even me, the skeptic, I was like, well, that doesn't really surprise me that much.
I was gonna say, freaking skeptic. Like, oh, I hate alien stories.
I did.
Ugh,
I did.
aliens.
And then they came out and I was like, yeah, okay, that checks the chart.
Like, you're gonna get abducted now. They'll be like,
Oh
I'll make a
no.
believer out of you.
Exactly. Cody and I watched this the one of the whistleblowers on it, Dr. I don't know, something or other. He came out with a documentary and we watched it. Excuse me. It's really interesting. They talk about some of it like I could get behind. Some of it seemed a little too conspiracy theory for me. But they're talking about this like dark government that's like used to be part of the government, but now is like just a bunch of rich people that kind of like took it over and they have like basically their own government. It's like a government in the background, which I totally can see. And it said that they knew they're the ones that have like these aliens, ships, and stuff like that, and they've recreated them, but they're not like sharing any of the information because they're a bunch of rich people. But I think the hardest thing I had about believing that, because I do believe, super wealthy people, like we're talking like the richest of the rich, like they probably got some shady shit going on, and none of that would surprise me. But my thought is, if they had this technology, why are they hoarding it to themselves? Why wouldn't they try and sell it like to the government or to make it and sell it to people like to get more money? Because that's rich people always want more money. So
Yeah.
that the motivation is what I don't get.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because I feel like a lot of people who are in that kind of power and have that kind of money want to lord it over people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why would you make your own private little government that has no power over anybody or anything?
And doesn't make you any money, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. But the rest of it was really interesting. That was just the one part like I couldn't get my head around. But also on other updates of the world, did you see that Lori Vallow got sentenced?
I did.
Yes.
And you
Good.
covered that in 2021, that story.
I was
So
just about to look up.
2021.
I don't know. Daybell? I can't find it. Yes, I did. I covered that story. It's a wild ride. But yeah, she finally got sent. Oh, there it is. Episode 35. Wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, over 100 episodes ago.
Yeah. So if you guys want to go back and listen to it, it's episode 35, Lori and Chad Daybell and the Hammersmith Ghost.
Ooh, that was a good one.
Yeah,
I liked that one.
that was a good one.
Yeah.
So yeah, she got sentenced finally for murdering her two poor children.
Awful that that even had to happen,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
very happy that she finally is getting her just desserts.
Yes, exactly. And then Chad is going up for his sentencing soon as well. So,
Good.
which I'm assuming he'll get the same as her, but
Probably.
yeah. So,
Yay.
on non getting it in the end the bad guy, I'm doing the Tulsa Race Massacre. Like getting justice in the end. That's what I wanted to say. Getting justice in the end.
Did you hear that noise?
No.
That was so fucking loud.
What was it?
Uh,
Jessica was making a really weird face, and I thought she was making a face at the weird way I said that, but no, apparently not.
I don't sorry. People off camera are like, what the fuck is happening? Um, no, I was just trying to figure out because I'm in my closet, right?
Yeah.
And it was either thunder, which was so loud, like rumbly, or it's a truck or a motorcycle that lives in my neighborhood
Oh,
and
yeah,
they go out at I think a certain time at night.
yeah.
And so I'm not sure if it was them or not, but it was so loud.
Gotcha.
Oh no, it's a thunderstorm.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
Wow. Hopefully you don't lose power.
Fingers
We lose
crossed.
power I mean, one day it was bright and sunny out and we lost power. I was like, what the hell? Okay, so before I dive in, let's talk real quick about our Patreon. If you want to go and join us at the $3 level, you get a sticker, and as of this Monday, 2 bonus episodes. There'll be a bonus episode each month. And don't forget to enter our contest. You've got a couple more days. By the time this comes out, it will be over. So never mind. I hope you entered, and we'll be announcing winners on our episode that will drop on the 13th. So, um, yeah, I wanted to say get your entries in, but again, won't matter because the contest will be over when this drops.
And then we're never doing it again.
No, we probably will. All right. So I got my sources from the Tulsa Historical Society and Museum, the New York Times, the Oklahoma Historical Society, History Channel, and NPR.org. This is not a happy story, by the way.
But it's a Jessica story.
It's a very much Jessica story. It is a very much. I was doing this one and I was like, oh, this is a Jessica story.
Which is nice because we haven't talked in like 2 weeks.
We haven't. I've been on vacation. I went down to Oak Island, North Carolina, and stayed with my friend and her family, like her aunts and uncles and everything. Her and I've been friends for years, so I know her whole family, and it was fun. I took my toddler and my infant and my husband, and the toddler had a rough time adjusting, but we got one good day. Thursday before we left was a great day. And yeah, so we haven't talked in a bit. So
She
this is
hates me.
yes, I hate her. And this is my little gift to Jessica. It's a very history heavy story. So, okay. During the Native American removal, which was when the US government forced self-governing tribes to move, it saw not oh, there was an it saw
There's
not
already
only
been a couple. You
oh, okay, I'm gonna try real hard. It saw not only the displacement of indigenous people, but also Black people who were enslaved or living as tribal members. One area that they all settled was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. More people traveled to Oklahoma between 1889 and 1891 during the land rushes. And in 1907, Oklahoma became an official state. At this time,
Oklahoma.
At this time, Oklahoma had a majority Black population. So it was a very big deal to the Black community when Oklahoma became a state.
That's amazing.
Yeah, especially because they were kind of trying to get away from, racism and slavery. And so they kind of hoped that with Oklahoma becoming a state and it being a majority Black state, that perhaps they could have some influence.
Isn't Tulsa the like capital of Oklahoma?
As soon as you said isn't Tulsa, I was like, oh God, don't ask me if it's the capital. Don't ask me if it's the capital. The capital. Oklahoma. No, it's Oklahoma City is the capital of
Oh,
Oklahoma. Okay, that's probably something I should have known. All right.
I mean, if you're gonna do a Jessica story, you gotta like
I got to
get
do
all
it
the
all.
facts.
Yeah, already failing. An area north of the Frisco Railroad tracks was referred to as, quote, Little Africa by the
Oh,
white people in Tulsa.
oh,
Yeah. But this area had such successful Black owned businesses that it drew the attention of Booker T. Washington, who is a pretty well known figure in history. He was an advisor to several presidents, and he was a leader in the African American community.
Who names their child Booker?
I don't know, maybe it was a popular name back then. I don't know.
Okay. Like,
He
what's
came
his nickname? Book?
Book. Oh
Boo.
no. I always think about that when I was naming my kids. What's it
Yeah.
going to be shortened to when people call them from a distance, you know?
I have a really funny story to tell you later about that.
Okay.
I don't think our listeners want to hear, but
Okay. Okay, where am I? Where am I? Where am I? That was an not an by the way.
oh, you already had a couple of ums.
No, I haven't.
You have.
Since I started talking the story,
Yes. Yes.
I have been trying so hard. Where were they? Rewind, replay, replay.
I don't
Insert here, Jessica.
I'm gonna turn it up extra loud for our listeners.
He came for a visit in 1905 and told the residents to continue to build and thrive. He told them to create a 4,000 acre of completely Black owned district and name, and they did that. I didn't write that sentence very well. And he named it Greenwood. And in 1921, it was home to almost 10,000 Black residents and was one of the wealthiest Black communities in the country, getting the nickname Black Wall Street.
Oh, is that like, yeah, cool. That's cool, right?
I think so. I think
Yeah,
so.
that's cool.
I hope so. Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, because like people equate Wall Street with success, you know?
Yeah. And they were,
So,
I mean, they had, the New York Times article was really cool. When you scroll through it, it showed a 3D rendition of the town at the time and where everything was. I mean, they had their own doctors, they had their own newspaper, they had their own theater, they had their own shops. They were a whole community in and of itself. They did
oh,
not
that's
need to
cool.
go anywhere else but this community.
Oh, and of course it's just gonna all be ruined for them, right?
Of course.
Of course. It's
And it was nice because this was a time of segregation. So they didn't have to live among white people who turned their nose down at them, were rude, racist, violent. They didn't have to worry about what water fountain to use, what bathroom to use. They had their own community.
I love that for them because that
Yeah.
is so few and far between.
Yeah. Yeah. I wrote in here, but because white people can't let Black people have anything nice, the white people started getting mad about Black Wall Street. It said that they were intimidated by the prosperity, growth, and size of Greenwood and the fact that it was expanding and encroaching on their borders. Tensions grew even more when hate letters started to arrive at prominent Black business owners' doorsteps. So on May 30th, 1921 is kind of where shit hits the fan. 19-year-old Dick Rowland, a Black kid, was walking into a building elevator and tripped. Out of reflex, he kind of grabbed, for the first thing as you're tripping, you kind of try and grab for the first thing. And he grabbed 17-year-old elevator operator Sarah Page's arm. She was white.
Uh,
She was startled and she screamed, and a clerk who worked in the first floor store called the police saying that Dick had assaulted Sarah.
oh my goodness. Why?
Dick was arrested the next day, and apparently the police and prosecutors both believed it was an accident. So that's
That's
not where I
something.
thought that was going to be. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And Sarah herself even said that she was not going to press charges because he just grabbed her arm because he tripped. Like she said, it was an accident.
Yeah.
I know, surprising.
That's wow.
Yeah. So they decided not to charge him, but the media men begged to differ. And you get it?
Yeah, what?
Oh, it's a line from a song. The media men begged to differ, judging by the hole in the satellite picture.
It's getting pretty cold.
Yeah.
Water's
Might
getting
as well
warm, so
warm,
you
so you
might as
might as
well
well
swim.
swim. World's
World's
on
on
fire.
fire. How about yours? That's the way I like it. It'll never get bored.
See?
Hey now. I don't know what TV show that's from.
That's the song.
Yeah, you said TV show.
No, I said it's from a song.
Hey, that's like about a TV show.
I don't think I did. Reroll the tape. Anyway, so the media wrote an article with the headline. I don't know if I can say this word.
It's the headline.
Yeah. Nab. I don't like saying this word. I'm not going to say it. Nab or it just says Nab, Negro, for attacking a girl in an elevator. And the article said that he tore her clothes, which was not true.
Ugh, why? Like, what is
I
the
know.
point
I know.
of stirring shit up if it's not gonna like benefit you?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I don't condone people stirring shit up
Right.
to
To benefit them, but
benefit
yes.
themselves, but like in that situation,
Yes. Yes.
like you're ruining somebody's life just to make an extra buck. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And with tensions already high between the two areas and really between races in general, because again, this was during, this is 1920s, so during segregation. Sorry, I lost my spot.
It's like, oh, she's buffering.
Suffering. A white filled mob showed up outside of the courthouse where Dick was being held. Then another rumor started to circulate that Dick was going to be lynched. So some people from the Black community showed up at the courthouse armed to protect Dick. The most widely circulated story says that the sheriff said, "Yo, we got this, go home." And as the Black men turned to leave, an old white guy stopped OB Man. His name is like O.B. Man. So it's like his initials, who was Black, and told him to hand over his pistol. And when Man was like, "No, thank you," the old man tried to take it from him, causing a shot to ring out. After that, the sheriff said that all hell broke loose and the two groups shot at each other until midnight, when the group of Black men realized they were highly outnumbered and fled back into Greenwood. In just this fight, 10 white people and 2 Black people were killed. The white guys were pissed and they're like, "Hey, let's go into Greenwood." So they started rioting in Greenwood in that night and into the next morning. They will kill people, they will loot stores and homes. In fact, there was a group of people leaving the theater unaware of what was happening, and the mob just started firing on them. Anyone that in the audience that was coming out that was Black.
What?
According to the Oklahoma Historical Society, some in the mob were deputized by police and instructed to, quote, "get a gun and get it N-word."
Why?
There was at one point a rumor that more Black people were coming by train to help. So when a train passed through, the passengers had to duck onto the floor as both sides of the train were fired at. They even went after Black people who were employed by white people, such as live-in cooks or servants. They told the families to turn over their employees to be arrested or they would be attacked themselves. So this mob was not only killing Black people, but they were also rounding them up and bringing them to different detention centers. So that's like when they said turn over your employees, that's where they were going to take them.
Oh.
At around 1 a.m., the white mob also took lighted oil rags and threw them into several buildings. And when firemen arrived to put out the fires, they were turned away at gunpoint. At around 5
Wild.
a.m., huh?
That's wild.
I know.
Are you freaking kidding me?
I know. At around 5 a.m., there was a train whistle, which the rioters believed was a signal to launch an all-out assault on Greenwood. Tons of rioters took to the street, and the Black people of the community had to flee, being outnumbered. This is crazy. The white mob even had privately owned planes that were flying over the city with rifles and fire bombs. Law enforcement later said that the planes were to, quote, provide reconnaissance and protect against a uprising.
Yeah, I'm so sure
Yeah.
that that is. Oh,
They do believe that some police were on board these planes, and eyewitness accounts from survivors said that at least a dozen or more planes circled the neighborhood and dropped burning turpentine balls on a hotel, an office building, a filling station, and several other buildings. Although this has been debated by historians on whether or not bombs were actually dropped. I know one of the historical societies said that one of their historians looked at pictures of the buildings from damages and determined that it was not caused from explosions. So that was one. So it's been historically debated, but there were several witnesses that said yes, there were planes. And so
well, and honestly, planes is just a bit dramatic. And sometimes, I hope this doesn't come off wrong, but sometimes I just really hate being white.
mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, we don't have a great history.
I just, oh, I don't get it.
I know.
Why do we have to be mean to people?
I know. Buck Colbert Franklin, noted Oklahoma attorney and father of John Hope Franklin. He wrote letters or like a journal or something keeping track of this, and some quotes from it said, lurid flames rolled and belched and licked their forked tongues into the air. Smoke ascended in the sky in thick black volumes, and amid it all, the planes, now a dozen or more in number, still hummed and darted here and there with the agility of natural birds of the air. And then another quote is, planes circling in midair, they grew in number and hummed, darted and dipped low. I could hear something like hail falling upon the top of my office building. Down East Archer, I saw the old Midway Hotel on fire, burning from its top. And then another and another and another building began to burn from their tops. The sidewalks were literally covered with burning turpentine balls. I knew all too well where they came from, and I know all too well why every burning building first caught fire from the top. I paused and waited for an opportune time to escape. Where, oh, where is our splendid fire department with its half dozen stations? I asked myself. Is the city in conspiracy with the mob? At about 9:15 a.m., 109 National Guard troops arrived by order of the governor. Apparently, though, the governor couldn't order his troops in until he was able to contact all the local authorities, such as the mayor, sheriff, police chief. But once he did, he declared martial law, and at 11:49 a.m., and by noon, most of the violence was complete. So that last paragraph where I started at about 9:15 was not a quote, and I thought it was, so that's why I just kept reading it that
It's like, dang,
way. No,
that's
so
a
at about
long
9:15
time.
a.m., 109 National Guard troops arrived by order of the governor, but it said that apparently the governor couldn't like declare martial law until he spoke to all the local authorities, so that took some time. And then he finally declared martial law at 11:49 a.m. and by noon most of the violence was complete.
It's good.
During the riot, and this is heavily debated how many people died, but most historians believe that 150 to 300 people died and over 800 were seriously injured. 191 businesses, a junior high school, several churches, and the only hospital in the district were lost. 1,256 homes were burned, and another 215 were looted. The property loss estimated to be around 1.5 million in real estate and 750,000 in personal property, or in today's money, $37 million.
Oh, it is a lot of money.
Yeah. No convictions were made. No one was arrested. And very rarely, if ever, was this spoken about in history books.
And you
The,
know what? Even the Avengers got put in jail for destroying that town.
Right?
Like, hold people
Uh,
accountable. What the
I
fuck
know.
is wrong with people?
Yep. The Tulsa Tribune removed the front page story of May 31st that sparked the chaos from its bound volumes. So that story that said that he ripped her clothes and blah, 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 they removed that. And scholars later discovered that police and state militia archives about the riots were missing. As a result, it wasn't until recently that the Tulsa Race Massacre was actually mentioned in history books, taught in schools, or even talked about. In 1996, the state
Legislator,
legislature authorized.
legislator,
I don't know why that was so hard for me.
because
Authorized
you're doing a Jessica story.
authorized a commission to investigate the Tulsa Race Riot or Tulsa Race Massacre. They appointed people to prepare a report of the historical account of the massacre. The commission delivered its final report on February 21st, 2001. The report recommended actions for substantial restitution to the Black residents, listed below in the order of priority. 1, direct payment of reparations to survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. 2, direct payment of reparations to descendants of the survivors of the Tulsa Race Riot. 3, a scholarship fund available to students affected by the Tulsa Race Massacre. 4, establishment of an economic development enterprise zone in the historic area of Greenwood District. And 5, a memorial for the reburial of the remains of the victims of the Tulsa Race Massacre. And they made a point about this, saying one of the ladies, and I may say this later on, but one of the survivors, her father had a shoe store that was owned that was burned down. And she made a point of saying, can you imagine, had these things not burned down, the generational wealth they would have had for their families?
Yeah.
And that was all taken from them. And a lot of them afterwards remained homeless. So in March of 2001, there were about 118 known survivors alive, the youngest being 85. And they were given a gold medal. Woo-hoo. On
That
April,
solved everything.
yeah. On April 7th, 2001, the Tulsa Reparations Coalition was formed to help get restitution for the damages suffered by the Tulsa's Black community, and it was recommended by the commission. On June 1st, 2001, the governor signed the 1921 Tulsa Race Riot Reconciliation Act, but it did not include any reparations to the victims or their descendants. It did include more than 300 college scholarships for descendants of Greenwood residents, creation of a memorial to those who died in the riot. A park with statues was dedicated as John Hope Franklin Reconciliation Park on October 27, 2010, named in honor of the notable African American historian from Tulsa, and economic development in Greenwood. So the survivors were like, nah, fam, and went to court. 5 survivors filed suit against the city of Tulsa and the state of Oklahoma in February of 2003, based on the findings in the 2000 report saying that they should receive compensation. The federal district and state appellate courts dismissed the suit, saying that a recommendation was not an admitted obligation and the statute of limitations was up. Apparently, the state requires that civil rights cases be filed within 2 years of the event.
What was the
And
point of all that other shit? Like, I just.
the Supreme Court declined to hear the appeal. In September 2020, a 105-year-old survivor filed a lawsuit against the city for reparations caused by damages to the city's Black businesses. It said the living victims who are seeking reparations for the massacre include Leslie Benningfield Randall, Viola Fletcher, and Hughes Van Ellis, all over 100 years old. Fletcher, the oldest of the group, is 109. So
Wow.
he has passed away since. The lawsuit was first brought to the city of Tulsa in 2020 in pursuit of what the lead attorney called justice in their lifetime. Just this past week, Oklahoma Judge Caroline, actually, sorry, that was just, this should have said just this past month because it happened in beginning to mid of July. Oklahoma Judge Caroline Wall dismissed the lawsuit with prejudice, meaning that they cannot sue again for that same thing.
And
And
they're not gonna have any time. Why can't you just like let them have what the fuck they want?
I know.
They're
And
so
it's
old. Like give them what they want.
well, and it's so weird because she made this decision over a year after she had allowed the case to proceed and ruled against the defense's motion to dismiss. So
Why
she's
does
like,
something
no,
like
no, it
that
should go to
take a
court.
year?
And then she's like, oh, never mind. Yeah.
That's shady.
Yeah. So, according to reporting from the Associated Press, the lawsuit was brought under Oklahoma's public nuisance law, saying that the lives lost and the damages suffered from the white supremacist attack continue to impact the city in the present day, which it totally would. The
Yeah.
lawsuit also saw a detailed accounting of the property and wealth that was destroyed. Wall tossed the case out on the basis of arguments made by the city and state authorities. And arguments from the defendants also claim the plaintiffs did not suffer individualized injury from the attack. Yeah. So
Okay.
here's some quotes from some of the survivors that sued. They said, well, I want to end with that, but I do want to say that after the whole massacre happened, some white people from the town came to try and help, but not many. I guess it was the Red Cross that really swooped in and did a lot of helping. But at this point, so many people had lost so much and they were homeless. So they had to try and find a way to come back from that. You know, they lost everything and the government's
Yeah.
not helping them. So they had to find a way to rebuild. So it's not like they got any help afterwards either. So these quotes: Viola Fletcher was just 7 years old when this happened. And she said, I still smell smoke and see fire. I still see black businesses being burned. I still hear airplanes flying overhead. I hear the screams. I have lived through the massacre every day. Our country may forget this history, but I cannot. Her other quote said, I am 107 years old and have never seen justice. I pray that one day I will. I have been blessed with a long life and have seen the best and worst of this country. I think about the horror inflicted upon Black people in the country every day. Her younger brother, Hughes Van Ellis, also testified on during their unsuccessful attempt. And he said, we were shown that in the United States, not all men were equal under the law. We were shown that when Black voices called out for justice, no one cared. And finally, Leslie Benningfield Randall, whose grandmother's house was looted and destroyed, said, I am here today, 106 years old, looking at you all in the eye. We have waited 100 years. No, we have waited too long, and I am tired. We are tired. And after all that, they just dismissed the case. So
You
that's
know,
where it currently stands.
like what is the point of the justice system sometimes?
Yeah. If
I
you're not going to
just,
help the victim, what's
yeah.
the point? Yeah, so this was not a feel good story. It's pretty awful. And the thing, I think that the craziest thing about it is, and I bet that every Black listener that we have has heard of this story, knows about the Tulsa,
100%.
and I had not heard about it.
I feel like I've heard of it, but I'm also not, I don't live in America,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you
like I
know?
had heard of it, but I didn't know what it was or how awful it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I didn't realize that there were planes involved.
Yeah, I didn't either.
That's wild.
Yeah. And it's just I don't understand people who want to, for lack of a better word, whitewash history. It
Yeah.
happened. People were shitty. People still are shitty. And we need to hear this stuff to learn, to grow. If you just act like it never happened, I mean, how dare you?
You want to hear a really fucked up white person thing right now?
Yeah.
Nowhere near comparable to this, don't get me wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
like fucked up in my country right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know like the full on specifics of it, so don't attack me about it, but like apparently they've taken news off of our like socials. So
Oh,
we can't see news events that haven't been approved by our government that aren't Canadian based, I believe.
oh, that's weird.
Yeah,
Why would they do that?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's to like control what we get and what we don't get and kind of what information is fed to us. Because
That's scary.
it is. It's awful. And like I don't know if it's all like it's so confusing because there's so many differing explanations as to what's going on, obviously.
Yeah.
And one part of it was like, oh, it's so that we can keep the written word kind of going, like newspapers and magazines and stuff. But that just doesn't make any sense because I feel like that's just a dying breed in itself,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, as we gain more electronics and get to be more web-based, I feel like that's kind of what's going to happen anyway. So, I don't know if it's like a controlling thing because our prime minister is, but
Oh, is he controlling? I don't know anything about him.
no comment.
Well, all I know is that he is hot. That's all I know.
He's also being, his wife is also leaving him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah. There's some bad, weird shit happening right now.
Oh, I'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
Speaking of, not to change the subject from race and stuff like that, because that's a really important subject. Um, but have you heard about the whole Ariana Grande
No.
debacle?
Is she already with somebody? Like, I just don't.
She and apparently she left her husband
Yes.
and she had an affair with a man who was married to his high school sweetheart who had just had their baby. And this guy, he is a Broadway star. He played SpongeBob on Broadway. Yeah, his name's Ethan. Uh, and everybody's like pointing out what a shit person he is for doing that and how basically he's just like probably starstruck by Ariana and he blew up his whole life and like she's not going to stay with him. She's a
No.
serial dater. And then they're talking about Ariana how almost every single guy she's dated, she has like stolen from another guy or I mean another girl. So like had an affair with him. And so they're saying like she's not a girl's girl and things are like coming back on her now. And everybody's laughing at Ethan because he's like this nerdy little theater kid, I guess. I can't think of his last name. And everybody's like, I don't get it. Why would you leave? But like, I don't know, man. I saw him singing and acting in Broadway, and like I kind of get it, but he's not like gorgeous or like sexy by any means, but like I don't know. I like a good singer. Broadway, I don't know, does something to me, man. But anyways, let me see.
Oh, I'm looking it up.
Okay, so back to the podcast. I
Yes.
think I think I did much better with my ums. I hope.
You switched them to us.
Shit.
And then you had a couple ums.
Well, geez, I'm trying my best. We'll keep every week. We'll keep trying. Guys, listeners, keep track of my ums for me.
Oh, they don't know how bad it is. I take out all of them.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm
Well,
trying
not
my
all of
best.
them. I take out a majority of them. I left them in one episode.
Fine. I'll do
Yeah.
better. I think I'm getting better though.
You are.
Okay. All right.
Anyways, so
Tell
we
us your
never
story.
know how to segue between awful topics
Yeah.
because it just makes us uncomfortable.
Yeah. It seems
So,
like disrespectful. Like we were talking about race and country and news and stuff like that. And I was like, it seems like disrespectful to bring up this Ariana Grande thing because that's so not important. So like I was like, should I even bring it up? And I was like, I don't know. But we were talking about affairs and wife leaving them, so it kind of fit. And so yes, we're not great with segues.
but I feel like if you're this far in that you're used to it. So,
Yeah.
thanks. And now I'm finally not doing a horrible story.
Yay.
My story's actually like fun and
Awesome.
carefree. I have two separate stories of UFO encounters.
Okay.
I was just gonna do one, but it wasn't long enough. I was like, they need more. So I got more.
Okay. They need more. So I got more.
I used a few different resources. I didn't write them down,
Nice, nice.
but one of the major ones was all that's interesting. So,
Mm.
yeah, I used them and then I branched. So the first story is going to be about Barney and Betty Hill.
Oh, I've heard of that. They're like the very first UFO
Yeah,
encounter, right? Yeah.
yeah. So before Ashley ruined it, if you are a diehard
Sorry.
Alien fan, you will know this story, but it's still very fascinating. I got some really cool shit. So here we go.
Well, I'm not a diehard Alien fan, and I knew the story, but that's because I heard it on, and that's why we drink years ago.
I, that's where I heard it too.
Yeah, a while ago.
Yeah.
I think I did it a long time ago.
Oh, I think so. Like forever, forever ago. Because
Yeah,
I don't think I listened past episode 100.
I definitely know that I was listening to it while I was at the gym, and it's been a hot minute since I've been at the gym.
Same. Anyways,
Anywho,
Dr. Benjamin Simon initially suspected that Barney and Betty Hill had come in for a consultation because of the issues. Oh, this is so bad because of your topic. Because of the issues with their interracial marriage.
oh
So he only thought that a white man and a black man and a white woman were coming in because they were of different colors.
yeah, not that they have like an issue.
Yeah. And this was in December of 1963. Dr. Simon, on the other hand, was erroneous and determined that the crippling anxiety that both of them experienced, which Mrs. Hill manifested in the form of repetitive nightmarish dreams,
Hmm.
was rooted in a period of several hours that the pair could not fully explain or recall. Neither of them could remember what happened, but they both had a feeling that something occurred. In an attempt to help them regain their lost memories, Dr. Simon advised them to undergo hypnosis.
Hmm.
However, he had no idea the explosive series of events he had just put into motion with this suggestion. The lost time had started in September of 1961, 2 years earlier. After returning from a vacation in Canada, Barney and Betty Hill were traveling through the White Mountains on their way back to New Hampshire. Due to their lack of funds, the couple were forced to continue driving through the night with only the moonlight illuminating a highway that was otherwise deserted except for their car. That night, Betty had observed a particularly bright star, perhaps a planet, in the sky, but she was a little surprised that another star or planet appeared too. So, not just one. Betty didn't say anything at first, but she began to notice that this brilliant object seemed to be getting larger and it was following them.
Oh.
She said that it was changing its course in an erratic manner, so not something that would be like very consistent of like an airplane or anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her spouse initially tried to dismiss this bizarre occurrence as a satellite or jet that had just gone off course. Um, but they didn't hear the engine as the object got closer to them. So,
No.
if it was like coming, something like that was coming towards them, you could hear an airplane, you could hear a jet,
Mm-hmm.
like you'd be able to hear that shit.
Yeah.
But as it got closer, it actually got more silent. Like things just went
Oh, how
no
creepy.
sound. How creepy is that? As it became more obvious that the object was monitoring them and that it was obviously not an airplane that they could identify, they grew more and more terrified. Finally, they each felt an odd, tingling drowsiness come over them as the pancake-like disc, glowing with brilliant white light, hovered almost exactly in front of them. Barney was still driving them down the highway when they woke up, as if nothing had happened. So they passed the fuck out, and then moments later, they were in their car again, still driving down the highway. Okay. Betty was fairly quick to accept that they had seen a UFO because her sister had seen one before until Barney disclosed during hypnosis that creatures with slanted eyes had taken them aboard a UFO for tests. So Barney was like really skeptical until under hypnosis. He was like, yo, this shit happened. So Barney is no longer a skeptic. Barney remembered the pair being taken aboard the UFO by creatures with slanted eyes for experiments on their bare bodies. The aliens allegedly obtained hair, skin, and nail cutting samples
Oh.
before inserting a 6-inch needle into Betty's stomach. Don't enjoy that. Betty told Dr. Simon that she later asked a being they knew to be the leader where they were. This is so funny. The leader replied, if you don't know where you are, there wouldn't be any point in telling you where I am.
Sassy.
So sweet. I love it so much. Like, damn. The pair quickly discovered journalists willing to cover their story, despite the fact that Dr. Simon himself did not believe them, and it wasn't long before they were very well known. Even Ashley the skeptic knows them. So,
I do. I'll give you my take on them afterwards.
I know you will. All following abduction reports for the most part. Oh. All following abduction reports, for the most part, replicated Barney and Betty Hill's accounts of their extraterrestrial abductions. A brilliant light, loss of memory, unexplained physical sensations, which is usually regarded as the first of its kind to have ever been recorded.
Ooh.
According to skeptics like Dr. Simon and Ashley, Betty's desire to believe in UFOs and the following power of persuasion caused the pair to recollect recollect
Collect.
false memories while they were hypnotized.
Okay, but
However,
I do have a question, and maybe
no.
you'll answer this.
Can I just finish?
Fine.
However, hypnosis is not a foolproof method for recovering lost memories. It doesn't help their argument as well because there's an alien character from an Outer Limits episode that aired just a few weeks prior to their encounter, and it looked a lot like the slant-eyed monsters that they described. Okay, go. I'm not done actually. Haha. Suck it. The couple's
Sucker. Stupid.
the couple's lack of sleep, plus the fact that Jupiter and Saturn were the two brilliant lights they observed in the night sky, whose positions corresponded to the objects the couple described, seemed to be the more likely explanations. Betty also allegedly sketched a star chart of the sky in 1964 while under hypnosis, depicting it as seen from a planet orbiting the star Zeta Reticuli. The fact that Zeta Reticuli is around 40 light years away from Earth and that this map was produced with astonishing accuracy was what was most stunning. One of the most remarkable parts of any alien stories ever reported is Betty's almost exact reproduction of the constellations encircling a genuine star system. But in the end, Barney and Betty Hill's story inspired the Air Force to start Project Blue Book, a covert investigation of domestic UFO sightings. And it also served as a model for all subsequent UFO abduction tales in the decades that followed. And now you may ask your question, Ashley.
And this is a question towards it being true.
Oh, okay.
Do they
You should have
ever
told
have
me
an
that
explanation for why they both blacked out?
because they were abducted by aliens. Duh.
I mean, a legitimate explanation.
Oh, they said that because they were tired. They could have just like, it could have been them like being drowsy, right? Because they were driving through the night.
And they both blacked out.
Yeah.
I don't buy that one. I don't like that one. I don't like that
Well, it could
explanation.
have been because like they were both hallucinating, right? Because I was awake for
The
like
same
30
thing
hours.
though.
Well, the thing is, Barry was a skeptic, right?
Yeah.
But Betty was the one that was like, "Oh, this is what we saw. This is what happened." Like
Okay.
she was the most like prominent one, right? And then they were saying that once Barry was under hypnosis, it could have been like the power of suggestion, the false memories because of what they had seen on TV. You know, her sister allegedly saw a UFO a year prior, that kind of stuff, right?
Okay. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So,
Okay.
because hypnosis is not a proven method.
Right.
So they're thinking like it either is accurate, it did happen, or there are these reasons to believe that like it was just kind of exhaustion.
Yeah.
But if the star mapping thing was true, because it was alleged, then that would have been a really good indication that it did happen.
Yeah. Um, what do you think my thought is on this, Jessica?
I think the same as always. You're a skeptic and you're a Debbie Downer.
I think
Nobody cares what you think, Ashley.
no, so the thing I was watching about the aliens, the professor when talking to he did like a bunch of or not professors, a doctor, did a ton of interviews and basically said that like the aliens that he knows of, that he interviewed people to talk about, they are not, they're benign basically, like they're not harmful, they're not going to abduct you and like do run these horrible tests on you. And my thought is kind of in agreement with that, in that if these beings are intelligent enough to find a way to come into our universe, because we know they're not in our, or into our galaxy, because we know they're not in our galaxy, if they're intelligent enough to have technology to do that, I don't think that they would need to abduct us and shove needles in our abdomen to study us. That's just my thought.
I like the thought. I like that it wasn't like as like it doesn't exist. Um, and I know I say up, I don't give a shit. So my thought is that they would abduct us to kind of put things into our brains, you know? I don't know. I just
For what
honestly, this
purpose?
thought is just coming to me now.
Yeah.
But it is so wild to think that we started off as Neanderthals,
Yeah.
right? And kind of learned how to do things without other people showing us
Mm-hmm.
if it wasn't for the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they could have put stuff in your brains.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like knowledge, right?
Yeah, I think if they're gonna
Not like
help,
putting a fucking monster in your brain.
I think I can see them helping in that type of way. I don't necessarily see them like trying to abduct us to observe us. You know what I mean? I think there's better
No,
ways to
no,
do
I
that.
think it's for our benefit, not theirs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that makes me sound like the crazy like UFO guy, but it's so hard to explain some of that shit, you know?
Well, and I mean, any space show that you watch, like Star Trek, Orville, any of those things, they always have kind of a an approach that if a planet hasn't reached out or if a planet hasn't evolved to the point of being able to have that kind of space travel, they don't interfere publicly. You know what I mean? Until that planet has evolved enough. So it could be something like that, you know.
Yeah,
And so they're just interfering quietly to help, but not in a public manner as to not cause mass hysteria.
yeah. The other thing I don't really like is the fact that like it was English that he spoke to her, you know?
Yeah.
That the leader spoke to her. And
Yeah.
I mean,
How
I
would they
guess
know
that like,
English?
pardon?
I said, yeah, how would they know? I mean, I guess maybe they could study. They have like linguists or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I guess the argument can be made for that, or there's like a translation app thing, but I mean, I just don't see an alien being sassy.
I
That
really hope
was
the aliens are sassy.
me too. You know, the ones from Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I found them to be pretty sassy.
I love it.
I know that we got like pretty off topic of these aliens. People are like, what the fuck is with this episode today? But
This episode's
Ash
all over the place, man.
Ashley and I haven't talked in like 3 weeks, so
Yeah, this episode's everywhere.
please stay with us. We love you. I just get really weird when we talk about aliens. I don't know why.
You love them.
I really do. I always say that I go through these dead spots with my phone and I know exactly where they are, like on my drive home and stuff, because I always call my mom or like Kyle on my way home from work.
Mm-hmm.
And I always know where I'm going to lose them. And I always say that the aliens abducted me. Please don't abduct me. It scares me.
Sounds awful from what these stories say if you
Honestly.
believe them.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I just don't feel like they're here to harm
I don't
us.
either. If they were, they'd just blow up the planet and call it a day. Like there's no
Yeah. If they
yeah.
can, like, if they can space travel.
Yeah, they could easily just take out the whole planet if they wanted to.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
Okay.
agree.
Yeah. Thank you. Like, I believe in aliens, I just don't believe in these stories, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But this one is the 1969 Berkshire's UFO incident.
I don't know if I've heard this one.
Okay. Well, now you're gonna. So
Okay.
lucky you.
Lucky me.
Residents of Berkshire County, Massachusetts, panicked in 1969 when numerous witnesses claimed to have seen a UFO. The commotion around the sighting gripped people across America and spread well beyond the locality. A copy of the supposed vessel was even on exhibit at the International UFO Museum in Roswell, New Mexico.
Ooh.
Like, how cool. Strange lights appeared in the southern Berkshire's town of Sheffield on the evening of September 1st, 1969. Many people who witnessed these lights said they were part of a UFO.
Hmm.
The UFO in question, according to eyewitness sources, was a disc-shaped vessel that did aerial maneuvers over the Berkshires. Although the exact duration of the phenomenon is unknown, many witnesses to reported UFO encounters claim to have lost a sense of time, which we talked about. The Berkshires are primarily made up of small villages and wooded areas, making it the perfect place for curious alien beings to visit. The experience with the UFO, however brief, seemed to be strong enough to leave a lasting impression of widespread uncertainty. Children in the classroom were drawing UFOs, while adults called the local radio station to describe what they had seen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, it
So
wasn't
there's
just
like
like
a lot
one
of,
person.
yeah.
Yeah. We had listeners call the radio station that evening, said David AC, general manager of local radio station WSBS.
Ooh.
At the time, they didn't know it was a UFO. They just said, called the station to say something bizarre has happened. Many folks were confused after seeing the weird vessel that night, and nobody appeared to know what they saw, but they were all aware that something was there. Since then, the incident has been known as the 1969 Berkshire UFO. Later estimates put the number of witnesses at around 40.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
40 people claim to have seen the exact same thing.
Wow. Okay. Maybe this one's real then.
Yeah. Some of them who were kids when it happened still live there. Blah, blah. Children coming into school talking about the event, said Robert Kroll, the director of Great Barrington Historical Society, in 2018. An adult student of mine, one is a local shop owner whose father was the police chief in town. So these people are reliable. They are not self-promoters.
Yeah. They're not like,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're not just there for their own. Like, they were
Mm-hmm.
notable people. So what made these stories so compelling? Well,
What?
eyewitness I have the most prominent eyewitness testimony for you.
I have the most eyewitness of the eyewitnesses.
You know it's good. And this came from a little boy named Thomas Reed. He claims that on September 1st, 1969, when he was just 9 years old and traveling with his mother, grandmother, and brother, he witnessed a UFO. In his memory, Reed was busy offering his brother a small fireball candy as the family was returning from their restaurant Village on the Green. So they had a restaurant called Village on the Green. Okay.
Okay.
They suddenly became aware of a swarm of blazing lights that were protruding from behind the dense foliage on a deserted road.
Ooh, foliage.
The family crossed the covered Sheffield Bridge as the unusual lights began to emerge from behind the trees, but they were puzzled by the spectacle. We all looked at it because it was kind of a self-contained glow, Reed said. It rose up a little bit. It looked like it followed the dirt road, which I'm sure it probably didn't, but it appeared that way because we could see it through the trees. The light started to bleed through once we broke into a little bit of a clearing. We could see inside the car, so the light was flooding inside the car. Suddenly, a glow surrounded them, and Reed was in a large space resembling a hangar. A hangar? Is it just a hangar?
I think so.
Because it spells it with an AR on the end. It just seems stupid. Like, I always thought it was like an airplane hangar.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Anyways, he was inside the shuttle. Okay. This huge open space. We encountered something, he said. It was definitely not of this world. We had a black and white television at the time, and the imagery that we saw on this thing was unbelievable. There were lights that looked like fluorescent tubing inside this hangar. This hallway we had seen was circular with a Y configuration, almost to control the flow of traffic. This one room had a bowed in wall that was rounded. Okay. This was not something that you would have seen in 1969 anywhere else. I have no idea where I was, but I know that what I saw was very different than anything I've ever seen, even today, 50 years later. Then, in almost an instant, he was back in the car. His mother and grandmother had switched places, and there were no more lights surrounding the area. So, like, his mom and grandma switched seats essentially.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Everything got really calm. It was like being in the middle of a hurricane. There was like a barometric change in pressure. It was just like a dead silence. Then there was an eruption of crickets and frogs, and it got really loud, and that was it. Like, how creepy.
That is.
Just like dead silence. Then all of a sudden, the sound is just coming back. Like,
And I want to say this is all bullshit, but like 40 some people saw this.
exactly. It
Yeah.
was a collective.
Yeah.
Reed has also persuaded other witnesses, or sorry, he had also persuaded other witnesses to combine resources to build a 5,000-pound concrete monument by the covered Sheffield Bridge, where he and his family had witnessed the UFO. And after the monument was built, benches and lighting decorations were added to the area surrounding it.
Oh, wow.
So he got people to like pitch in for this shit. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Reed then established the nonprofit UFO Monument Park, Inc. to control and care for the area where the monument had stood. Eventually, though, the novelty of this story wore off, and just over 4 years after it was put up in 2019, the municipality took down the Berkshire UFO Memorial.
Oh, why?
The fact that the monument had been placed on town property according to the town's council swiftly made it it made its removal legal because it was placed on town property.
That's rude.
Yeah. It's kind of on town property and no one decided it could go there, said town administrator Rhonda Lamb Bombard. But Reed said he got permission, so fuck that noise. The town has bylaws, and if we let one person put something up, then why can't someone else? I don't want that to happen. Which I fucking hate that rule. Like, if
Yeah.
I let you, I have to let everybody else. It's fucking bullshit. No, you don't. You're a grown ass adult. Figure your shit out.
Figure your shit out.
the
Yeah.
message. The Massachusetts governor, Charlie Baker's signature was inadvertently placed on the UFO memorial, according to a spokeswoman who talked to the Boston Globe in 2018. In 2015, the Great Barrington Historical Society called the widespread Berkshire UFO sighting a significant and true occurrence, but it has since changed its mind. Because why not? Like, they even had him take a fucking polygraph
That's
that he
crazy.
passed. And so they're like, oh, yeah, this is like a legitimate thing that's happened. This is
And
a
then they're like,
thing.
oh,
We
never
put it,
mind.
yeah,
That's
fucking
stupid.
bullshit. I think the Historical Society's regrets that our words or our decision has been taken out of context, said Kroll, who added that the incident was significant to the town, but the organization shouldn't have focused on one individual. And that was an obvious reference to Reed. But like, you knew what was happening. You
Yeah.
literally made this man jump through fucking hoops.
Yeah.
Like, he got bullied for years and years after this incident happened when he was 9. Like, he was severely bullied. I'm pretty sure they moved away. They lost their restaurant, like, because they just
Oh,
kept being bullied. The cops had to sit in their restaurant
oh,
so
that's
that
so
shit didn't
sad.
start. Like, it was just
Yeah.
awful.
That's really sad.
It's like he's not the only one that fucking saw it.
Yeah.
Other
Yeah, there's
people
40
around
other
town.
people.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just like a really
Shitty
bullshit.
thing. Yeah.
But I don't know. I believe in aliens. I don't think they're here to hurt us. I just think that
Yeah.
they're here to like help us.
Help us. Hopefully. But like we said, if they were here to help hurt us, there's much easier ways for them to do so. Oh.
Exactly.
All right, I've got some alien puns for you.
Okay.
Uh, these are stupid. Never mind. I don't like these.
Um, okay, give me a second.
These are bad. I'm not going to read these. They're stupid. They're not funny.
How do you count cows?
How?
With a calculator.
How do you put a baby alien to sleep?
You shove it in your belly.
You rock it.
I didn't get that at first. That's funny. Uh, uh, sorry, I was trying to find that funny like cow joke that you liked, and I can't find it. Oh, how did the cow get to the moon?
How?
It went to utter space.
Why were there only 18 letters in the alphabet?
Only 18 letters in the alphabet.
Mhm.
Because the rest were stolen?
Because E.T. flew off in a UFO and the CIA chased after him.
That's funny. I have one more.
Okay.
What do you call it when one cow spies on another cow?
I don't know what.
A stakeout.
Oh my God. Okay, I have one more. I really like this one.
Okay.
What do you get when you cross an alien and something white and fluffy?
A Pomeranian.
A
Wait, no.
Martian mellow.
Oh, I like that one.
Well, if you want more of us lovely ladies, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, and TikTok.
Yeah, and if you'd like to rate and review us, you can do so on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you two new stories next week.
Bye.